Excuse me. Hi. Christian here, founder of Second Life Coaching, and current sufferer of recovering from pneumonia, so I'm going to try to get through this video without hacking up a lung. But I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about something that's been on my mind and on my heart for a little while, something that I'm dealing with personally, and something that I know that you two deal with personally, you deal with as well. So let me ask you this. Do you sometimes, have a life that's in utter chaos? Let me take off my glasses so you can see my face. And I'm talking about, more than one area, because we all have areas and times occasionally where life gets a little chaotic in one area or another, whether it's, your business or your work or your relationships or, what your health or what have you. And we can all deal with a little bit of chaos because, it's easy to focus on returning normalcy to an area, one or two areas that are a little bit out of balance and a little bit out of whack. But what do you do when it seems like everything is out of whack and your entire life is upended in chaos? To be honest, that's kind of where I'm at and where I've been for a while. Some of you understand why. It seems that every area of my life currently is in transition. I'm going through some massive changes and it's not an exaggeration to say just about every single area of my life. And it's a bit overwhelming. I'll be honest, it's been hard. It's been a struggle to put forth effort into almost anything because you get stuck. You get to a point where you have no idea where to even begin. And that's when it just kind of spirals downward. It becomes difficult to move forward. It becomes difficult to even take care of sometimes the day-to-day minutia of living because it's just so overwhelming that you're completely unmotivated to do anything, absolutely anything, that you'd rather just kind of curl up and hide under the blankets and, pretend it and hope it all goes away. Well, thanks to, I want to give a shout out to some very important people in my life who have kind of kicked my ass a little bit in this area. Iman and Afreen Khan, first of all, my coaches. Iman called my ass out on a virtual intensive not too long ago, and Afreen kind of kicked me in the ass. I think it was earlier this week, maybe about this same subject, and a guy who is a day younger than I am, but who has become one of my favorites to listen to, a guy named Philip McKernan. And they all had very similar bits of advice, and it kind of all flows together. Iman talked about getting what's blocking you out there, to release what secrets you're holding, what narrative you're trying to control, what things you don't want people to know out there, and release it so that it doesn't block you anymore. Afreen whooped my ass into sitting down and putting together a plan, a planning wheel, getting in touch with somebody to talk to, and just taking the next step. And Philip McKernan talked about the fear of getting beyond the fear of what's next, because we put so much pressure on what the next step is. It's got to be the best job. It's got to be the perfect place to live. It's got to be the next person I meet's got to be the one. And we put so much pressure on it that we kind of remain stuck in the chaos and and not moving forward. And his advice was to start with what you know. And when you're kind of lost and confused and don't know where to go, start with what you know. Start with, because the only thing that'll bring clarity is taking action. And by taking action, you'll get to the next step. You'll figure out where to go from there. And one of my favorites, and Philip used this in a recent podcast that I was listening to, is if you don't like your job and you don't like where you're living, then move. And people say, well, if I move somewhere and I don't like it, what do I do? Well, then move again. And the only thing that's going to come out of it is more clarity. It may not work out. It may, be an absolute dumpster fire, but it also may be, the right move. And only by doing so can you start to eliminate all the chaos that you have going in your life, all the overwhelmed, feeling of overwhelm, the burden of everything is by doing that one next thing. And start with what you know. And I find that to be very, very sage advice. And so how do you do that when your entire life's in transition and you have no idea where to go? Well, pick one. Just choose one. Choose an area that is more important to you to move forward in. Whether it's, your career, your relationship, where you live, your finances, your business, what have you. Just choose one area that's, at the top of your list, the thing you want to tackle first, and the biggest challenge that you have in front of you. If you know that your relationship is unhealthy and you know that it's just kind of miserable, then either A, take steps to fix it, or B, end it. If you're in a job and you hate it and you just dread going to work every day, start looking, or even leave, go, just quit and figure out something until something better goes along. If you're unhappy with where your business is going, take one step, like this is right here, sitting down on the patio outside in a beautiful Florida afternoon and, shooting a Facebook Live and talk about the absolute, mess and what you're going through, and be relatable, because I'll tell you, the things that you do to help clear the chaos aren't for you. They're for those of you, those in your life and those that watch these things and what have you in your periphery, that by seeing you confront the chaos in your life and figuring out how to deal with it, figuring out how to overcome it, figuring out how to move forward, you're going to inspire them to take their next step. Perhaps your best friend is in a job that he can't stand, and he sees you take action in even an unrelated area to make your life better. Then you're going to inspire him to take action to make his life better, which in turn is going to make everybody around him and his life better. Because there's one thing I've learned, is that being miserable or being unhappy is contagious. It's a pandemic. It not only affects you, it affects those around you. It affects everything, and it's not a healthy thing. Cheers. And so when you start doing things to improve your life, you're simply going to be an inspiration to somebody else. And so that's kind of my message for today, is that when you're stuck in the middle of this chaos, is just choose the one thing where you want to move forward. Put everything else on the side table for the moment and just choose one and start there, and start with what you know and take that first step, because like I said, the only thing that's going to come out of taking action is more clarity. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't work out, hey, at least you know what not to do next time. Or you learn what you don't know, or what you don't like. Because as one of my first coaches said, there's no failure, only feedback. And when you go through life and you make choices and you have experiences that aren't what you like, then you learn what you don't want in the future. Thanks, Steve. There we go. Almost made it to the end without hacking up, thanks to this pneumonia I'm finally getting over. But that's pretty much what I wanted to shoot for today. If you like the video, when it comes available, share it with somebody you know who is trapped in a shitstorm of chaos and could use a little kick in the ass to get their life moving forward again. And until next time, this is Christian, founder of Second Life Coaching, and we'll talk to you again soon. Peace.